Meanwhile, let's welcome back to the studio the Chief of the Battle Creek Police, Jim Blocker. Good morning, sir.
And good morning.
And also today, Officer Cory Longon is here as well. Good morning.
Good morning.
So the other day, I watched the video that was released of the bank robbery chase. Holy mackerel, that was some incredible video to watch.
Well, it was. I think it was a phenomenal demonstration of the level of professionalism we have at the department. I think we are blessed as a community that we have folks that with calm poise and in a courageous act can continue the chase even while being fired at. And yet a lot was going on there. Think about the fact that they're driving. There's a high-speed pursuit. He is calling out distance and direction. He is calling out actions, and actions on the objectives as this scene is progressing its way. This was a kinetic scene as it was progressing its way from one end of the city to the other, all the while knowing that we had armed persons who had just committed a bank robbery, which is a felony, of course. And officers, what we saw that day was just a supreme acts of professionalism by all agencies involved. And clearly we're proud of our crew. We're proud of the community and the support they've had for them. And again, these folks have to make critical, life-changing decisions in a moment's notice, and the fact that they're able to do it in such a calm manner, in which calm demeanor, certainly still to this day impresses even me as their chief.
You know, just watching that, I mean, you see this stuff on, national reports and maybe from big cities in Michigan, and when you're watching it, you may not necessarily recognize the surroundings, but when you watch that video, you say, I go right through there every day. You see things you recognize, and then you recognize exactly what's going on in the situation. You recognize that this was a busy time of day. There were other people out on the roads. And, I fired a BB gun when I was a Cub Scout, but I haven't had a gun in my hand in a long time. But one of the things that I have heard about shooting is watching your field of fire. And as your officer was saying, shots fired, I'm looking at this car and imagining where those bullets are going. They could have gone anywhere, because we presume that when a bank robber is shooting at you, they're not considering their field of fire, are they?
Well, certainly not, and that's why officers pursued, because they had a live threat. It was a kinetic action. The person driving this entire event were the suspects. Officers simply were trying to contain it, and they had to stay on it, and there were a number of risks that had to have been taken, but that's part of this business. And ultimately they were able to contain it and stabilize it, and certainly grab all of the suspects as necessary. And
some pretty high dollar amounts set, so they're not going anywhere at this point.
Again, I think that's an expression from the community that this won't be tolerated, and we certainly appreciate it.
All right, when we come back in just a minute, we'll talk a little bit about why tonight is such a party night and what kind of a safety message you ought to be hearing as a result of that. That's coming up on WBCK. 8:15, Richard Piet Show, Wednesday. WBCK Chief Jim Blocker is here, and Officer Cory Longon from the Battle Creek Police. What is it about tonight? I have heard some police officers in the past say, the night before Thanksgiving is bigger than New Year's Eve for partying.
Well, that's right. I think it's known to be a pretty significant party night, social night. I think a lot of people that, certainly younger folks, and that's why some of these statistics I'm going to read here shortly are important, at least for family and friends to pay attention to. They've been away at college, many cases for the first time. This is an opportunity to get back with friends and family and celebrate. And of course, we all have a lot to be thankful for, our good health, our faith, our families, and celebrate and tell each other about where they've been and what they've been up to. We encourage it. We love every moment of it. However, we also want to let folks know that we're gonna be out in force, and we just want folks to make sure that they have a plan, that they have identified some of the risks associated that only they know personally about what they plan to do tonight and how far they plan to do it. And we're going to have folks out there ready and prepared to at least support them, help them, or even in the worst way, arrest them. And no one wants to be arrested on the night before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, right. Not the plan for celebrating that they were conceiving of, I imagine. So, Officer Longon, you've been on patrol before. You've been observing these kinds of situations. You see the difference on a night like tonight, I imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what kinds of things are you looking for tonight, and what kind of advice can you give us?
So they're going to be concentrated groups of people, certainly around some of our restaurants and our bars downtown along the Columbia and Beckley Road corridor. We know that. And so we're going to have extra patrols out, just paying attention to the behavior of drivers. And we're going to have our Battle Creek Police / taxi vehicle. Again, it's a promotion, a reminder of folks that, listen, there's two ways to get home if you've drunk too much. One our way, and certainly one via taxi or friends. And so we're going to be out in force, hopefully, as that reminder. Please pay attention, and importantly, pay attention to your friends.
In your observation over the years, Chief, are people taking your advice and planning things out, and thus you're seeing fewer DUI stops?
Historically we are. I think since MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, the organization started, we started talking about that and exposing the sobering numbers that are represented with drunk driving or distracted driving, is that we have seen a reduction, but it's still a travesty. Consider 28 people die daily because of drunk driving. 50 to 75% of convicted drunk drivers still drive today on a suspended license. We know that the average drunk driver has been driven home or driven drunk at least 80 times before they've actually been caught. And then, the highest rate of drunk drivers is that age range of 21 to 25. And that's really the point today is, as I mentioned earlier, this is a fun night for a lot of young people. But again, it's that age of 21 to 25. They make up the largest group of drunk drivers, about 24% out on the roads tonight. Some of that's just youth, some of that's inexperience, and some of that's just naiveness on their capability of getting back in a car and getting home.
So let me hear that statistic again. 80 times? Is that what you said? 80 times before they get caught.
That's right. That's the average.
Oh, my gosh.
It's incredible.
It is incredible.
But if you think about it, for every 52 minutes, 4 people are injured. In 2013, 10,000 people died. 1,490 were children under the age of 14, and over 290,000 are injured every year. I mean, those are just incredible numbers if you think about it. 10,000 people a year. That's just, it's sobering, to say the least.
All right, so have a plan tonight and be safe. That's the point. Coming up in a minute, we'll talk a little bit now about what will happen on Friday. The holiday shopping season gets underway. You want to be safe there, and, of course, the holiday season in general, and we'll talk a bit about that in just a second. 822 WBCK, Chief Jim Blockers here, and Officer Cory Longon with the Battle Creek Police. We're talking about, well, big party night tonight. And then, of course, Black Friday starts, which really starts Thursday, doesn't it? Is that true?
Oh, yeah.
What happens Thursday night?
Well, Thursday night is when people get ready for Black Friday. Black Friday is a big night for us.
And some of the stores have started to play into that by opening on Thursday night, haven't they?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, what does that mean for you?
It just means for us that we got to be more aware of what's going on and who's open and why they're open, and just keep an eye on everybody. So
what happens with that frenzy? People start thinking about that doorbuster or something, and they're not thinking about safety? Is that it?
Yeah, sometimes people forget because they're so excited about the actual day and what's going on and getting the new stuff for cheaper prices, and they forget the basic safety tips to not get their stuff stolen.
Yeah, give us some of those.
Some of the stuff that is a big deal is leaving your cars and locked, and not leaving things in your car that people can see with a plain eye, like bags that look like you just bought something and brought it into the car and put it in your front seat. You probably want to avoid that. Put it in your trunk, lock it.
So that stuff still happens. Somebody walking by your car sees something attractive, a electronics bag or something, and they might try to seize an opportunity.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about it. You see something and you want it, and maybe you really need it for somebody, and and you're really eager. You're gonna do what you got to do. So you just want to avoid that, so people don't have that urge to break into your car.
Now, what about the notion that if you're out and you have a bunch of bags and you don't want to carry them around, so you say, I'm going to take these back to the car, and maybe you even put them in the trunk, but you close the trunk and walk back in. If somebody's watching, is that attractive?
It could be, but that's actually a smart idea, I think. The less stuff you have in your hand, the less stuff that you're gonna be vulnerable for somebody to perch, snatch, or grab your stuff. As long as it's in a trunk locked.
All right. So somebody would have to be, I guess, undertaking a surveillance mission to really want to do that.
You know, it's about target hardening, too.
Yeah.
Making it more difficult. And I think that's what Officer Longon is referring to, is simply say, make your valuables more difficult to get. And they're going to, if it requires them to put more time and effort and therefore exposure, they're not going to do it. So he's exactly right. Securing things in a locked place where people can't see them, I think is a great idea.
There's also some security messages that probably need to be heard as it relates to walking in the dark and that sort of thing, right?
Right. So try to avoid dark areas, especially like people getting up super early in the morning. Park in a well-lit area, and when you're going to and from the car, try to have somebody with you, and that prevents that target hardening. Like, nobody's going to want to mess with somebody that there's two of you. So if you have two people, it's harder for somebody to want to do anything to you.
Take it from me, it's dark at those hours.
Oh, yeah.
I can attest. All right. What else should we know? Is there more?
One big thing is patience and having a plan. Okay. So when you're going out there, it's crazy. There's a lot going on. Make sure before you go out, you have an idea what you want and what you're going to go out there for, and be patient. I mean, everybody's out there to get something. So know what you're going to get, go get it, and then be patient and get back home safely.
Do you actually see people tussling in stores when all this is going on?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, people run each other over to get what they want.
Oh, my goodness. That's not the good behavior our mommies taught us.
No.
All right. So everybody just needs to calm down and be mindful of these things. Holiday season also means sometimes people are away, and you probably have a thought or two on that as well.
Right. When you're away, there's things to think about. Letting somebody know where you're going is huge. Letting your neighbors know, hey, I'm going to be out of town for a couple of days. Can you keep an eye on my house? That's going to help for they see somebody that shouldn't be there, calling the police and letting us know. Leaving maybe a porch light on or something, making people think that you're there when you're really not, just to help that target hardening.
All right, good advice. We appreciate that as well. Thanks to the both of you for reminding us about what we should know as well as we approach tonight and the next few days.
Thank you.
All right, see you soon.